It's another episode of St James's Pod, and we're all back in attendance tonight. We've got Thomas Page, Alex Dawson, Pete Sword, and myself, Sam. How you doing, boys?
All good, mate? Yeah, yourself?
It's good to see you back, Pete. We missed you last week.
I'll
just
little call of emergency. Stand up.
We'll get your take from before the game last week. Before we get started, I'm assuming. I was going to ask, like, were you in the same sort of mindset as us? But I'm assuming you didn't listen to the pod like the rest of them, mate. So,
of course I did. I fucking did. Why wouldn't I? See how shite it was without me.
Oh well, we did good for no swearing in the first 30 seconds, didn't we? What were your thoughts going into the game then before you saw the team sheet and stuff? Were you confident of a win?
Yeah, of course I was. You couldn't not be confident. Villa, like, they're sort of trundling along a bit. They haven't done terribly, but it was the whole, obviously, they beat, was it Brentford, wasn't it, 4-0 that they smashed, obviously. You call it the new manager bounce, but it was only the caretaker manager, so you couldn't really say that. Bit of a juggle around, but I still thought, this is the way we've been performing. I'm fully expecting 3 points here. So, no problems as far as I was concerned. Like,
yeah, well, we all predicted a win. I think Page, was it a 3-1?
I would like to think it was 3-1. I can't really remember much of what I was chatting last week. I was, chat shit most weeks, but especially so, having had a few drinks beforehand. But yeah, I think 3-1 was confident in a prediction in what I expected the end result to be. So yeah, and again, team sheet wise, when it came out, I was pretty confident again that we were going to get the 3 points without too much bother.
Yeah, I think Dawson, me and you predict 2-0 each.
Yeah. I thought the best defence in the league wouldn't concede, so I was proven right.
Yeah.
But funnily enough, I got a tip off from Australia about 12 hours before the kick-off. That was going to be 4-0, so I put a fiver on and it's printed money, really. So that's what you need to do. You just need to actually watch the match before it happens over here and make your prediction.
Shut the fuck
up. Just ask Jack what the score is going to do. Well, we'll move on to the team sheet then. We were right in our predictions that he'd stick with the same team. Saw Joe Linton back out on the left. He did very well in that position, I have to say. Pete, were you expecting the same team as well? Were there any changes you would have made?
I was expecting the same team. I know Maxi was sort of, you're saying he was fit, but maybe three games before I'd have said, Maxi walks back in, but no chance he walks back in at the minute. There's nobody that can be dropped at the minute, so I was fully expecting the same team.
Yeah, that's what we predicted as well. So it was quite an easy one, but Maxi was on the bench, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a strong bench.
Yeah.
That's the thing, everyone's getting back to full fitness now. It's just that we're really waiting on. Obviously, John was back pretty much up to full health. Maxi came on off the bench, so I think we're getting back to full fitness finally.
You two would have both been at the game, were you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was meant to be fair.
Did you see?
Really good.
Did you see the Eddie Howe flag?
What do you mean the flag? There was a banner in the Leazer's corner just saying Eddie Howe's Black and White Army, but then I believe there was one in the Gallagher. I think.
Yeah,
right?
There's one with his face on that, like, they put on the TV over here, which I think it's the first time he's had his own flag. It was good to see. Yeah.
We were in the Black Otter a little bit later, so we only arrived just before kick-off, so we didn't really see much of the pre-game.
Too busy getting steambolled.
Flags that were going on.
Good stuff. Well, did you actually make it for the first half?
Unfortunately, we did, and it was the first half.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that then, because I just watched the highlights back last night, and it's funny because on the highlights it doesn't really come across what a bad first half of football that was. Obviously, for like a Newcastle point of view, it was pretty hard to watch, but it was all down to Villa's stoppages. Well, I say Villa, it was also partly the ref as well. He wasn't doing the game any favours. But do you think there were tactics to try and break up the game that Villa came with, to try and stop us getting into our flow? Or do you think it was just the keeper's genuinely injured and the crowd kind of get on his back and then it kind of builds from there? What were you thinking, Tom, as you watched the game?
Yeah, I think they did come out aiming to disrupt things and play in that manner, slow the game down. I will sort of defend it a little bit because some of our tactics away from home against some of the bigger teams have been similar. So I think Villa, that's testament to how far we've come, that teams like Villa are heading to St James's and looking to, try and slow the game down and maybe just frustrate and contain us a little bit. So I think they were aiming to do that. When it came to obviously the big stoppage in play with Martinez, when you look back on it, it does look like he takes a pretty heavy knee from Tyrone Mings. And I thought at that point he should have just been taken off. I am very surprised that he actually got through their initial concussion protocols, because it was a heavy collision and you could tell it was just he was never going to be able to see the rest of the game through. He just looked pretty out of it. So in fairness, I think that stoppage was not ideal, but there were the little niggly ones as well, which kind of slowed the game down as well. I can't remember, there was another Villa player who was down for quite a bit as well in that first half. So it was awful.
Wendy,
really.
Wendy was down all the time.
Yeah, Buendia, he looked like he was trying to play for a few fouls and stuff. But yeah, we just couldn't get going. You could tell it affected our passing game. We were pretty poor. I think Bruno had a pretty poor first half. Couldn't get anything going. We were giving the ball away quite cheaply. But yeah, Villa dragged us down to their level, I think, in that first half, and it took probably a big half-time team talk from Eddie to turn things around, I feel.
Yeah, so it was definitely, we were trying to really force it, because I think partly it's because we've had games at St James's this season where we've struggled to break teams down. You think Bournemouth and games like that where we should have probably won. We had a really good game, but we couldn't really make the breakthrough. So I felt, it came across to me like we're just forcing the passes. And that was leading to stray passes. And like you say, even someone like Bruno was doing straight passes. So I feel like it was just that that was the way the team were feeling, like they were trying to force it. But I think that's probably partly down to the crowd. So I'll come to you, Alex. What was it like in the crowd when the keeper went down? Because it came across on the TV like you really got on his back. And I was wondering, is that why do you think they let him stay on for a little bit and he didn't go straight off? Do you think they did the concussion protocols properly the first time?
Well, I'm going to keep it quite succinct because I'm going to agree with Paige with most of the points here. I think they had already started to frustrate her from very early on. So by the time he went down, the crowd already had the backups a little bit. So when he went down, we just thought it was just more of this gamesmanship of him just wasting time. But then by the time it gets to like 4 or 5 minutes, you think, right, something's got to be wrong with him. Like, we were in the Gallagher, so we were 100 yards away. We didn't actually see the collision between him and Mings. But like, I was saying to the bloke next to us, if he's taken 4 or 5 minutes to check if he's all right from a head injury, he's not going to be all right. Like you should have been taken off there and then. Like, there's no, like, I've seen Shearer going on about it on Match of the Day. There's no excuse for not just taking him off, like, straight away. Like, and for his safety more than anything else. So the crowd, they were giving him quite a hostile reception, and in hindsight, it's lovely. It's like, it's so easy to see because you can see he's genuinely injured and he had to go off 10 minutes later. But that's why he got such a reception that he did, because obviously we didn't know how bad it was, and then he was allowed to come back on the pitch. So then it looked even more so that he was faking injury, the fact that he came back on the pitch after, which might not necessarily be down to him. It's probably down to the doctors and the coaching staff even who let him back on, which again shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. He should have been took straight off, and I guess it's because it's your first team keeper that you sort of tempted to leave him on there, but really there should be some sort of investigation into that to see why he wasn't like taken straight off, because that's the whole point in the protocols, isn't it? But what you were saying there, Tom, about Eddie Howe's halftime team talk, I think the big thing was that we managed to get that goal before halftime, and the fact that we got the pen and Wilson tucks it away, it really set us up for the second half.
Kept it going. Wilson, hold on, penalty. A test of character. Toss with ease.
So when the penalty's first given, I'll come to you, Pete, actually, because you're in the ground. Do you see the handball straight away?
No, I mean, you couldn't clearly see it. Well, I couldn't clearly see it, being 4 foot out. But
That would do with the eyesight.
you see, I know to do with the eyesight. No, that would do with the 10 pounds before either.
Just couldn't see how the bloke in front, that's all.
No, you seen like literally every player screaming that was a handball. There was no protest from the Villa fans. The ref straight away pointed to the spot. Nah, he knew it straight away. He's experienced enough that, like, when you seen it back on Match of the Day, you could see that he knew fine well it was a pen. I think he went over to speak to the ref as if to say, like, oh, it was dead close to us, but it blatantly wasn't. Like, it was a wasted effort. But it was, when you look back, it was a clear pen. His arm was in the air. There's literally no arguing about that. But it couldn't have come, it definitely, like you were saying before, it couldn't have come at a better time.
Yeah, and Tom, he cool as a cucumber, isn't he? Even though they're trying to like waste a bit of time beforehand.
Oh, yeah. Again, gamesmanship, as we talk about, like, you know, trying to psych him out. But yeah, like, Wilson, I back him as well as I would have done Shearer back in the day when it comes to pens. He's
Big shout.
He does just look ice cold when he's you know, going to take a pen, and obviously Southgate in the crowds was watching and maybe had one eye on that in terms of, you know, including him in the England squad for that reason. So yeah, no, never in doubt when he's got a pen.
He had a right smirk on his face, Southgate, when he scored. I don't know if you've seen it on Match of the Day. Obviously, everyone around him was celebrating and all that. He was sat next to Murdoch, but Southgate had a proper smirk on his face when he scored. I mean, that could mean absolutely fuck all, like. But
well, he had him first goal scorer, clearly.
He's Beckham in.
He got him in his fantasy team.
Yeah,
I probably are.
Triple cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that we'll not spend too long on the first half, seeing as it was such a bad half. But
Shite.
I just wanted to ask you two, with the halftime show, or whatever you want to call it. Did you see much of Ryan Taylor and Ginola coming out, or were you at the bar?
No,
I
I was seeing it was a big announcement. I think Ryan Taylor got actually more of a cheer than Ginola. Didn't he? Purely because I don't think Ginola really said much on the mic, but I think all the, you don't want to call them old timers, but all the people who were like, obviously we were sort of still quite young when the Ginola era was kicking about.
Yeah.
But I think all the blokes were all down at the bar. So everyone remembers, who was in the stadium still remembers Ryan Taylor over the wall and all that. But he was lapping it up, Ryan Taylor. Like he was loving it.
Yeah, but I think he's really kind of endeared himself to the fans, hasn't he? Because he's stuck around after he's finished playing, and he's always been like a big supporter of us, even after his playing career, and says how much he likes the area, and he's almost like one of them. I don't know what the term is. I'm not going to say legend, but
Adopted
like
cult hero kind of.
Cult hero.
Cult
That's
hero,
it.
yeah, that's it.
So we'll come on to Gareth Southgate's second bet of the day coming in, which is Wilson's header.
Here in Trippier's corner, Almiron sets it up for Trippier. It's away! Once again by Callum Wilson. He's in the mood for a World Cup.
Clearly a well-worked corner off the training ground.
Aye. I've said for a while that I'm finally a convert to all the little short piece, set piece routines, because I used to hate short corners. Like I used to say, just lump it in the box, like get the big lads on it. But they're clearly working on these things week in and week out, and it's such an easy goal for Wilson to score. He knows, like, he's such a good portrait. He knows where the ball's going to come in. Beautiful ball by Trippier, and he's literally got to hit the target. I thought he'd missed in the ground as well. Obviously, just snuck in, but yeah, glad
It's like hitting off his nose.
Yeah. If it hit off mine, it would have won it. Glad to see him get another goal in front of the England manager. Can't do any harm.
Yeah, 100%. And it is clear to see they're working on the set pieces a lot more since Eddie Howe and the team have come in, and we've clearly, like, I think that's the second one we've actually scored from. That's a clear drill that we've done again and again and again. But
so Trippier again,
as you say, yeah, or is it Miggy? I think Miggy gives him
Yeah, it was
backheel.
Miggy backheeled it there. Miggy backheeled it.
But like you say with lumping it in for the big lads, I think that actually helps us out as well, because the opposition team are so scared of us doing that, because we've got the likes of Dan Burn in there, Sven Botman, Shaw, all these tall lads. And then even when Lascelles comes on, for example, he's even better, actually, at getting his head on corners. So, as you say, Gareth Southgate's in the crowd. Pete, I'll come to you. Do you think that spurred Wilson on a bit?
No, to be honest, I don't think he needed that. I don't think he needs it. You've heard it. We've all heard him in his interviews. The confidence he's got in himself. He backs himself massively to go to the World Cup, and I do. He's got to go. How can he not go? So I think he's old enough, wise enough to know that he doesn't, like, if Southgate's not there, he's still going to be watching. Do you know what I mean? He's going to be watching everything, so he's got to put the performance in regardless. But I think obviously getting that first goal gives you a bit of a boost, and the fact that we had them on the run the whole game. His second goal was obviously going to come. He could have got his hat trick. Could have got 4, to be honest.
I think he was wound up, like he couldn't get a hat trick.
He definitely was raging that he couldn't get a hat trick.
3-0 up, when he was missing chances, he was frustrated. You can tell he really wanted it.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think he needs any sort of little boost to make him perform like that.
Well, we'll come on to the post-match interviews later, but he actually says in his that he didn't know Southgate was there. But Tom, do you believe that, or do you think he's just saying that?
I think for a few of the players in the team, that they must have all known that, well, with World Cup round the corner, that international managers were watching. I know the Brazil manager was there, Tite, keeping an eye on quite a few of the Brazilians in action. So I would find it hard to believe Wilson saying that he wasn't aware Southgate was there, because I reckon that was the talk of the dressing room, to be honest, that, you know, there was people there to you know, watch them, and there was enough English players playing on both sides to warrant Southgate making the trip up. I know he doesn't, or England managers haven't often in the past chosen to come to St James's to watch the team play because of the lack of worthwhile players on our side, at least, worthy of international football. But yeah, come on, Wilson's got to be in the picture, if not already on the plane for me, and with the likes of Pope and Trippier as well. So yeah, I find that hard to believe that he wasn't, that he didn't think he was there.
Yeah, I was thinking about this as well. Do you think when Gareth Southgate comes to watch a specific game, do you think he comes with like a full team sheet of who's English and who's eligible to play for England, so that he can keep his eye on anyone? Or do you think he comes with like a subset of players in his mind that he's gonna watch? So, for example, will Dan Burn, the fact that he had such a great game left back, and then towards the end of the game he comes centre half, does he, if he's not in his mind, does he get into his mind during that game?
I'd think he does have. He goes with an agenda of players, for sure. The ones who, you know, the coaching staff of England have been keeping an eye on for a while. You know, that are in the sort of pool of players. But it's not been unheard of for a player to make a late run before a tournament to make a surprise appearance. I'd say normally those are the ones who are maybe a younger talent than Dan Burn, but it would be a hell of a place to make you. I don't think he has had a call-up, has he, previously? So to then get his first call-up to a tournament as big as the World Cup would be a hell of an achievement. And I think he's not far off, to be honest. Don't think he would be taken for the inclusion at left back, because I just don't think he fits into the England team in that position. But I think he's on form far better than Tyrone Mings, who he was playing against on the weekend. I think he's a far better option than Mings is, for sure.
Yeah, well, also I was going to say this. You've got Wilson coming up against Mings and making him look terrible. Well, does that for himself, really, doesn't he? But then you've also got like Dan Burn in the same game, just looks so much better than Tyrone Mings, plays in the same position. Surely that's got to come into his thinking when he's picking his squad.
Well, you think so, wouldn't you? He's played consistently better than Mings all season. His distribution's better. He can play better at fullback, centre half. Like, he can play in a back 3 or 4. So it just seems an absolute no-brainer to me. And have you seen that? There's been a few names leaked for the 55-man squad, and Burns in it.
Don't say it. Burns in it.
Burns in it.
Because I'd seen it was like Lewis Dunk. I seen Wilson was in it, but I seen a lot of talk earlier today that Burn wasn't in it. So I'm glad you've found that.
I'd seen some names. It was Webster, Dunk, and Welbeck from Brighton.
Yeah, that was it.
Eze, Madison, Loftus-Cheek, Wilson, and Byrne, I think, are the players that I'd heard mentioned.
Right. Personally, I think we've got the best fucking defence in the league.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's a no-brainer. Like, he's fucking massive. He's like 8 foot. It's a no-brainer that he has to go. He might not start. He probably won't start if he went. More than likely, doubt he'll even play. But his backup, it's a no-brainer. No-brainer.
Yeah, I know, Dorsey, you've said for a while now that before Byrne even came to the Toon, that you'd take those three lads that you mentioned there, the two that are still at Brighton, Webster and Dunk, and Dan Byrne, you'd have them in the England team all day. And to be honest, yeah, now I've seen how obviously Brighton are doing really well still without Byrne, and obviously Byrne slotted into our defence and made it really solid. You can just see that is the cornerstone of that England defence. Could well, have originated at Brighton and be there for on the international stage.
Yeah, it's not just individually though. Like, you've got Dunk, Webster, and obviously Byrne at Newcastle now. They play the playing style that England players. They play out from the back. They play out under pressure. Like, they play a high line, and they've done it for years under Potter, and they're going to continue doing it under De Zerbi, I think. It's just like a perfect mould where they could fit straight into an England side. So I just don't understand why you're getting people like Tyrone Mings getting called up, who play for Aston Villa, who aren't known for a team, who play up on the back and like play on the front foot all the time. It just doesn't make sense to us why Southgate would pick Tyrone Mings out of any of those players. It just doesn't make sense to us.
Yeah, and these guys play together. They're used to playing together. They know each other's style of football. So you'd think like it would be a no-brainer, but obviously Southgate's got it. Although he might surprise us. You never know.
You've seen that Byrne still gets on with them. Like, when we played Brighton earlier in the season, there was a bit of scuffles. Like, Byrne was like pushing into them, like joking on, like they were like laughing at each other. They clearly still get on, like, so they've got that chemistry, like, on and off the field. So that's half the battle when all your team, especially England squads, like, get on. Yeah,
and then like you said earlier, Tom, Titi was in the crowd. So one player who was hopefully playing for a spot in the World Cup is Joe Linton. So as Wilson plays that ball through and he picks out Willock, I was thinking, he's played the wrong pass there. The better pass would have been straight at Joe Linton. He was like straight through. But then Willock plays that ball and it just isn't quite right for Joe Linton to get on because of his strength and his pressure on the defenders. It obviously spills back out to Wilson, who takes a shot, and then luckily Joe Linton's carried on his run and he slots it home. And it's great to see him get a goal, isn't it? Especially in front of the Brazil manager.
Yeah, I was a bit worried about Willock's pass. Like, I was like, absolute waste. I didn't have the legs on it. But like you say, thanks to Big Joe's strength, he's battled for it and it came out to Wilson. But it is good to see Joe Linton get his goal. I think I'm sure that's his first goal at St James. Is it first of the season?
I'm sure I've seen a stat like he's the 10th goal scorer of the season, something like that.
I was going to say I thought it was the first at St James's, but you could be right there. Like, Miggy's been scoring them all.
Yeah, I think that of any player who was wanting that boost from a manager, international manager there, I think Big Joe definitely seized that opportunity. He's been talked about on the cusp of that Brazil team for the last 12, 18 months. Is that
just by Toon fans though?
Well, maybe, but I think they're crying out for somebody in that.
They've got
new
fucking
position
Fred in the middle, for fuck's sake.
No, they've got Douglas Luiz, who just conceded 4 against the Toon.
Douglas Luiz and fucking Fred, how
Exactly. So, get a nice little balance in there with Joe and Bruno. Brazil will be alright. But yeah, I was proper chuffed for him. Like he was, he's one, especially that he was playing in that further advanced position that could offer him the opportunity to get a goal. I think it was ultimately deserved, despite it being maybe a bit fortuitous in how it popped back out to him like that. But yeah, he was determined.
I thought he had a great game in general, despite the goal.
Yeah, he did. Very good game.
And even getting moved back into centre midfield, like he showed his versatility again. Like he played well in both positions, so credit to him. Like he's showing off like all his assets in front of the Brazil boss Tite.
Yeah, did you see the ball boy when Joe Linton runs into the corner to celebrate? I don't know if any of you caught it, but he absolutely shits himself.
You seen the look on his face. He didn't know what to do, did he? His eyes were fucking wide open. He's not a clue what to do.
He's got
Big Joe Linton storming towards him.
I'd probably do the same if I had a Brazilian in my face.
Oh, go on, lad. Yes, man.
Slow burner.
While on the subject of Joe Linton, we'll just briefly talk about that foul in the second half. Yeah, it leads to another yellow card. You know the one. He just totally clears him out, which, to be honest, I absolutely love. But it does mean he's going to be suspended for a game. But it means he's suspended against Southampton and then back in for the Chelsea game.
Yeah,
I saw him at the end of the game. He was talking to the referee, and I think he was complaining. Not really sure why, but it looked like he was trying to say, he didn't want the suspension, which I'm assuming is because if he gets through like the next 2 games without one, is that when they get reset due to the World Cup? But anyway, we're gonna miss him next week for sure. But do you agree, Tom, that it's better we miss him against Southampton than Chelsea?
Yeah, obviously we'd want him in there for both, clearly, but I think the physical battle in the Chelsea game in the midfield is going to be much more needed for him to be there. I think we could cope, and obviously with John Joe coming back for another cameo appearance again, plus Maxi as well. They're 2 players who could fit back into the team and fill in where Joe Linton's not going to be in for the Southampton game. Probably I would like to see Maxi just on form against Southampton come back in for that one. And then, just keep the same midfield three that we started with against Villa. But yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? He plays so close to the line that you know he is going to pick up yellow cards quite frequently. So it's just, in some ways, just hoping that they don't fall on games that where we'll miss him loads. So I think we'll be all right against Southampton without him. But I'm glad he'll be back for the Chelsea game.
It'll be interesting to see actually if Eddie Howe manages him in that way. Like if he's at risk of a suspension and we've got like a arguably easier game, whether he rests him and stuff like that in the second half of the season. But we'll come on to a man whose celebrations could scare no ball boy, and that's Miguel Almiron. Wow, take that one out.
Wilson having a look around. Almiron. He's a man in the mood too. Wow! That is just astonishing.
It was another absolute screamer from Miggy. Like, it just seems that every time he's in that position, I think Dawson said it loads of times, you just expect him to score now. He opens up his body bang, top corner, no problem. But we had a perfect view from the Gallagher corner. Like you seen it bend straight in. It was fantastic. It almost felt like it was out of nowhere. I don't know. It's weird to describe. All of a sudden, Miggy's on the ball and he's cut inside, manned it in. Like it seemed quite quick for
Wilson
me.
actually sells him short, and it means he has to come inside for the ball. And I think that's why I think that's why it eludes the defenders a little bit as well, is because you're expecting Miggy to go out onto the wing, but because the pass has actually not got that much on it.
You're probably right. So it's almost the bad pass is almost broken up play, but obviously Miggy being quick and alert, and it's actually in prime for his left foot. It all happened pretty quick, but like you say, you mentioned these celebrations. He absolutely loves playing for the tune. Him absolutely loves it. He loves running over the fans, and it's like it makes you. I think I said to you in the chat. I watched the match back the other night, and you can't help but smile when you see him score and celebrating. You cannot help but smile, and it's just a great feeling. Even sort of after the celebrations, all the players are walking back to their half. Miggy will turn around and look at the fans and put his arms out and smile like he's absolutely loving life, and it's great to see, because we all know he's had a lot of stick in his time here, but now it's all falling into place, and I don't think anyone would be happier.
I mean, I don't want to get carried away, but he's like a prime Iron Robin. He's so one-footed. You know what he's going to do. You just can't stop him. Like, whether he cuts inside and just whacks it in the far corner like that, or whether he goes down the line, he's like so fucking sharp.
He's that confident. He actually had a shot with his right foot, which unfortunately got saved. But he had a shot with his right foot. we couldn't believe it.
It's fantastic to see. Like he's playing so well, getting the goals, unstoppable, undroppable. That's the thing. Like, apparently we were looking for a right winger in the summer. There's still talk about we're looking for one in January. He's playing out his skin to keep that place.
He's one of the first names on the sheet now, isn't he?
Aye.
For sure.
And I have to reiterate what I was saying last week. I definitely give credit to Kieran Trippier for his upturn in form as well. And one thing that I forgot when we were talking about it last week is Trippier can actually speak Spanish, can't he? From his time playing over there. So I can imagine that really helps Miggy out, because we were saying a few episodes ago, Miggy's English isn't the best. So, I mean, yeah, his turnaround is absolutely amazing. He's definitely got to win Goal of the Month for October, because I'm sure he'll be the only contender.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's won Player of the Month for Newcastle, hasn't he?
Yeah,
already.
funny enough.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I'd seen Eddie Howe got asked about that as well. Go on, mate.
So I was just going to say, mate, you've actually brought up a point there which I don't think has been highlighted enough. The fact that I think Trippier, like you, Trippier has almost moulded him and helped them so much, just like he did with Maxi. Maxi actually came out and said that Trippier's helped me so much, blah, 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 and you could see it in his game. I don't think it's been talked about enough how much Trippier has helped Miggy on what to do and stuff like that. So I think that's a very good point that you just made up there. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, he's got to have helped quite a few players in the team, just with his general presence and his experience and stuff. But he's definitely linking up with Miggy, and he's, you can tell. I was saying this last week, but you can tell that since he's got regular football in the team, Trippier, because obviously he picked up that bad injury last season, that has coincided with Miggy's upturn in form as well. And like, Miggy was starting to play better towards the end of last season, which, you know, you can't say isn't down to him, isn't down to Eddie Howe's coaching and stuff like that. But he still wasn't getting the numbers, he wasn't getting the goals and the assists and stuff. And I think Trippier's really helping him bring out the best in his game.
Well, like one thing I said, like probably like pre-takeover, was that we weren't getting enough goal contributions from the midfield. Like, it was a real problem. Like Shelby, Willock, Miggy when he played centre mid, like, we just weren't getting goals or assists. Now you've got, obviously, Almiron's playing a bit higher. Bruno's chipping in all the time. Willock, like, even though he didn't directly get any of this game, he won the ball off Douglas Luiz for the first goal when he won the ball on the edge of their box to pass Wilson in, who then gave it to Miggy. And then he broke the play to get the third goal as well, and he just drives forward. And I thought Sean Longstaff also had a fantastic game.
Yeah, massive
really
game.
solid. He was absolutely everywhere.
He's such a workhorse.
Yeah, by the end of the game, they'd give up. They'd literally give up. Like, I think when it went to 2-0, even, they just didn't seem interested.
No,
like,
we were saying at the match, weren't we? Were like, they're just down tools here.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, that's why I was so pleased to see us get a goal before half time, because you just knew that
we needed
second half coming out, they were just going to be like just shadows of themselves. And as soon as we got that second one, as you say, like they just couldn't be arsed. And you think as well, that's probably partly to do with the fact that the new manager's not in yet either. It's like just thinking, oh fuck it, this game's gone. But when you're talking about Sean Longstaff, I'm glad you brought him up, and we can give him some credit this week. I was looking through like the stats and the XG from the game, and one name that kept being towards the top was Sean Longstaff. So we've got Bruno and Trippier with the most touches in the game. Then Longstaff's got the most tackles, and he's clearly in there. And Eddie's asking him to. That's like more part of his game. Like, that's one of the things he's in there to do. But then also, he's second for progressive passes after Bruno, which surprised me a little bit. But this is the good thing with like looking back over the match stats and stuff, because there's certain things that you don't always get with your eye, and that's, for me, is one of them. And then they were also first and second for receiving passes, so he's obviously looking for the ball as well. He's wanting the ball in midfield, which is great to see. And then just wanted to give a special mention to Botman, because he won 100% of his aerial duels again.
Absolute unsung hero.
Yeah. I mean, what a player he is, and he's still so young as well, so what a player he's going to be.
Like, how at that age is he so good? Like, he's absolutely faultless. And I just love like the centre half switching the ball like so often, like just to open up play. You see it all the time. Botman switches it to Trippier, and Shaw switches it to the left, whether it's Joe Linton or Dan Burn. Like, it just opens up play so much, and like they're just back on with it like so often as well. I love to see like the completion of long passes, but defensively again, they didn't have a shot on target. They didn't have a corner. Like, it was a walk in the park.
It's almost we've stopped talking as much about the defence because it's been so consistent and so good. We're on about Bruno's class, Joe Linton, Miggy, but the defence, it's just like it's almost like the norm now that they are fucking fantastic. But like we keep going on about Botman, you can't. I think we've run out of words to describe him because he's so good and he's so naturally good. It's like he's a fucking superstar. He's an absolute superstar.
Superstar.
I was so excited for us to have completed that deal in the summer. I know obviously we were looking at him heavily in January, but to see that one come through in the summer was just. He's a cornerstone for where we're going to be in 5-10 years, hopefully, if he stays around for that long. But for the next sort of short-term and mid-term future of the team, Botman's going to be there. And, you know, there's the value of a left-footed centre-half is high already, but to have somebody already at 22...
future
performing
captain.
Like, yeah, he is probably at
I
that
believe so.
level of being a future captain. You could tell he just goes about his business so calmly and never looks like he's just a Rolls Royce of a defender. And you know, they normally don't get to that bit until they're, you know, Van Dijk, I would say, was probably 27, 28 before I think everybody started to notice how good a centre-half he was when he went to
He's a fucking fraud, man.
Wait, he's there alongside Botman maybe for the Dutch national team at the World Cup. We'll see if that happens, but I think he's the future of our team long term, and definitely future for the Dutch national team as well.
Yeah, I like as well how passionate he is already, and he's giving other people shit, and he's like, when we have not kept a clean sheet, you can see how he's screaming and he's shouting at people, and he's like, he's so young, but he's not like a young man. He's like mature, and he's not afraid to say what he thinks to the other players. So you would expect him to be leading that line one day, and possibly leading out the whole team, as you say. So, was there anything else you wanted to mention on the game before we move on to post game? I think we've generally covered it. Go on then, mate.
I will now, because you've completely forgotten about my favourite player, Jacob Murphy off the bench.
Great shout.
I know he had a run in the first team and out of necessity, and I think he didn't disgrace himself too much. I know again he's one of them players who gets a lot of grief for his maybe lack of end quality and everything else. But coming off the bench, he really, Ashley Young had a terrible game anyway, but he gave Matty Cash and Ashley Young a horrible time when he came on. Obviously hit the post he was very unfortunate, it did great to cut down the byline and stand up a wonderful cross, which Wilson, I think, would love to have had back again, because I think he would have definitely buried it for the hat-trick. But yeah, I just wanted to give a bit of credit again that off the bench as an impact, Murphy was great. And after the game as well, in the tunnel, just showing pure passion, for getting that result as well. I think there was a clip of him, just all the players coming back in off the pitch to the dressing room, and he's there, screaming, and you can probably tell how much it means as a player and obviously as a fan as well, that he is of the tune to have got the result. So
you can tell he loves it.
Definitely. He's another one who's thriving at the minute. It helps that the team's thriving. I know he's been unlucky hitting the post every now and then. He's not a world beater. We all know that he puts the graft in, but I'm glad Paige mentioned that, because I had actually forgotten watching the match the other night. Yeah, he looked very good when he came on. Some cracking runs, some great crosses, great balls in. Unlucky with a couple of his shots, but I agree with Paige. He did have a great game when he came on. Massive impact.
Eddie's Mag's breaking records. First team to make 6 subs in the Prem.
Yeah.
I didn't even realise in the ground either. I didn't
realise watching it.
The only thing was
after the game.
Well, they don't really announce. I mean, the commentators for us, Sam watching, they did mention that there was obviously the concussion sub that was used for Martinez, but I didn't actually realise that then
gives you the team another one.
Gives the other team another one. I knew it would, but then I suppose they have to.
Fair, isn't it?
It would be unfair to not.
I didn't know that rule.
It was weird though.
But does that mean
so many?
But going about the concussion, does that mean that Martinez misses the next game because he's gone off with concussion?
He shouldn't be playing for a week. I think there's
I might be right there in my eye. So So he misses
playing for another week. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was the case. Because it's happened to outfield players when they've had to go off concussion and then they've missed the game. But I was just wondering, that was all.
Well, that means Emery's going to have a sub keeper for his first game.
Maybe Olsen
didn't put himself in glory.
Abe Olsen looked very poor, to be honest. Coming on, he looked very rusty. So
you know what annoyed me as well is I think I put this on the group chat during the game, is the sub keepers like not even ready to come on by the time like they make the substitution, even though the medical staff's been on and it's like 5-10 minutes later that he gets subbed off. Surely the medical team should be like, get your strip ready, lad. And that's probably another thing that frustrated
your
the
strip
crowd.
ready, lad.
But he's like, he didn't have tape on, like, he was putting tape on under his shinies and that. It's like, how man, like, you've had 5 minutes to get ready.
To be fair, your keeper, because your keeper's only got you one position, so your keeper should be ready to go from the off for me, like, for things like that. Outfield players.
Yeah, as soon as you
it's
see
a bit
the
different,
main
but-
keeper go down, like, that might be why he was so
Yeah.
crap as well, is he didn't even warm up, did he? He just sat in his trackie on the bench.
Wait, there's not many areas
Anyway.
for him to properly warm up though, so he's not going to be taking shots on the sidelines waiting for his opportunity. So yeah, no, he was crap. So
Thanks for that,
we'll
bitch.
move on from him. No, we'll expect him to do some high knees or something then.
So just before we wrap up, so after the game, we're still sat in the Champions League spots. We're fourth in the Premier League, still ahead of Man U, 1 point ahead of Man U. We're only 2 points behind Spurs, which I was gutted. Like they were getting beat 2-0 at one point, and we were in third, and they came back to win 3-2 away to Bournemouth, I think it was. Could have been
Yeah,
third,
it was.
but listen, lads, we're still fourth. The feeling around the club is just amazing at the minute.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much else to say really on this Aston Villa catch up. So, guys, if you want to like, subscribe, you can follow us on social media at St James Pod, and you can catch us in the next episode, which will be a look ahead to Southampton away. See you then, guys.
Up the match.
Wanna hear you go.